China is grappling with a multitude of issues. The applause fades as the banks crumble, and the once-inflated real estate bubble bursts. Now, the economy itself bears the brunt of the turmoil. China finds itself entangled in a financial predicament, facing a disconcerting disparity between incoming and outgoing funds. A towering debt wall, amounting to a staggering $23 trillion, looms ominously, plaguing provinces across the nation. Yet amidst these well-known challenges, there remains one crucial problem that is often overlooked. A problem that, if left unresolved, could potentially signal the gradual decline of the CCP's reign in China. This issue at hand is none other than China's tax crisis. Taxation holds immense significance for the CCP, as it does for any government worldwide, as it is the lifeblood that sustains their existence and power. In the government's eyes, a tax evader holds greater infamy than even a drug dealer, for by evading taxes, one directly undermines the government's financial stability. Unfortunately, in China's case, hundreds of millions of individuals evade taxes, giving rise to a catastrophic tax crisis that engulfs the CCP. China's taxation predicament, among nations of comparable economic magnitude, stands as one of the most severe in modern times. It is a complex conundrum, intertwined with a web of factors that extend beyond a singular matter. Structural deficiencies in the tax system, rampant tax evasion, widespread corruption, and feeble enforcement of tax laws all contribute to this multi-layered issue. Today, we embark on a comprehensive exploration of these factors and more, delving into China's dire tax predicament and its perilous implications for the nation's future. Chinese President Xi Jinping finds himself confronted with an array of challenges, with taxes being a significant percentage of the country's GDP, stubbornly resistant to growth. China's economic landscape presents an assortment of hurdles, prompting the government to unveil a substantial tax breaks package. Nonetheless, an estimated one-third of fiscal revenue is lost each year due to tax evasion, resulting in reduced tax income, increased government expenditure, and a diminished pool of taxpayers. To grasp the essence of China's tax conundrum, it is vital to recognize that despite its developed status, China's economy remains in a state of growth. Moreover, with over 1.4 billion people, China previously held the title of the world's most populous nation, adding to the demand for essential social services such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Financing and developing such facilities for a population of this scale heavily rely on taxes collected from individuals and businesses within China's borders. In theory, these taxes should contribute to public welfare and the advancement of public amenities. However, the flow of tax revenue in China follows a convoluted and intricate path, which is perhaps unique to the nation. The Chinese tax system operates across three levels: national, regional, and local. The national level, overseen by the central government, collects taxes such as income tax, value-added tax, and corporate tax. Meanwhile, the regional and local levels, represented by provincial or municipal governments, handle taxes like resources tax, urban land use tax, land value increment tax, and city maintenance and construction tax. This intricate system often leads to overlapping responsibilities, further adding to the complexity of China's tax woes. Within this chaotic framework, the central government holds the authority to impose tax laws that encompass the entire country. It sets the tax rates, at times aligning them with political agendas, a practice we shall delve into later. Conversely, local and regional governments possess more limited authority, but collect taxes within their specific jurisdictions. As we navigate through this video, you will witness the systematic chaos that exacerbates China's tax problems. The responsibilities and interplay between the central, regional, and local levels of government contribute to the intricate web of challenges faced by the nation. At the opposite end of the spectrum, we find the local administrations, responsible for collecting property taxes, individual income taxes, and various other levies such as vehicle and vessel taxes, relatively minor ones. Although local government taxes are lower than national taxes, they still play a significant role in the state's revenue, serving as a vital component thereof. These taxes heavily rely on and contribute to the state's financial resources. However, a predicament arises from the fact that a portion of these revenues must be remitted to the central government, the very entity that initially set the collection rates. Consequently, Tension arises between the central government and the local authorities regarding tax collection. Instances have occurred where local governments in China faced allegations of failing to remit their tax collections to the central government. This has resulted in revenue shortfalls and inefficiencies within the tax system. Moreover, accusations have been made that local governments utilize their tax revenues to fund social programs within their districts, thereby undermining the national government's tax policies. Such conflicts have created a delicate situation for the central government, as it must strike a balance between its revenue needs, provision of social programs, and the enforcement of tax laws. This task is not as straightforward as it may seem, leading to substantial deficiencies and an operating environment that can be described as somewhat chaotic. Speaking of chaos, China's taxation system has given rise to a problem: debt. You may be well aware of China's ongoing debt issues, particularly given recent events. Remember the debt crisis? Debt prices and mounting infrastructure debt have become significant challenges for China, leaving the nation struggling to maintain appearances. A massive wall of debt, valued at $23 trillion, looms overhead, requiring refinancing or rollovers. This represents merely the tip of the iceberg, as provinces across China grapple with debt pressures. Furthermore, local governments in China have their own substantial debt dilemma, which has intensified over the past decade and compounded the national debt crisis. The local government's mounting debt predicament can be traced back to 2008, coinciding with the global financial crisis. This global catastrophe acted as a catalyst, exacerbating the situation. To combat the crisis, China implemented an economic stimulus plan, injecting approximately $586 billion into the economy. The aim was to stimulate the sluggish economy while constructing railways, communities, subways, and airports. The expectation was that the entire economy would benefit from these public infrastructure projects, subsequently boosting employment. However, financing a stimulus package of $586 billion does not materialize out of thin air. Chinese local governments resorted to borrowing from various sources, including state-owned banks, non-bank financial institutions, and shadow banks. They seized every opportunity for loans offered by individuals or entities. As a result, local governments accumulated a substantial amount of debt, with some projects yielding little to no economic benefits. Consider this: if the very projects that were undertaken fail to generate sufficient economic benefits to repay the borrowed debt, then where will the funds to settle the debt materialize from? This is where taxation comes into play. China's local and regional governments heavily rely on taxation as their primary source of revenue. However, the tax revenue necessary to alleviate their overwhelming debt burdens is the same revenue they struggle to secure. The issue lies in China's inadequate tax system, which suffers from limitations and loopholes. These limitations stem from governmental directives and laws aimed at gaining popularity, but result in a narrow tax base. Moreover, rampant tax evasion further exacerbates the problem. Consequently, China's tax system has earned a reputation for being feeble, obscure, and ineffective. In essence, this predicament makes it arduous for the country to collect sufficient revenue to cover its expenditures. Local governments, burdened by existing debts, face challenges in financing their ongoing infrastructure projects, leading them to resort to more borrowing. One method employed for this purpose is the utilization of local government financing vehicles. These vehicles, sanctioned by the government, facilitate borrowing beyond the allocated budget. Essentially, the government establishes pseudo-investment companies that issue bonds to secure funds. Although these vehicles have served as the primary means for local governments to finance their projects, they also contribute significantly to China's escalating debt dilemma. The incessant borrowing by local governments perpetuates the expansion of debt, further worsening the situation. Investors find local government financing vehicle bonds enticing due to their implicit guarantees, assuring repayment by the respective local government in case of default. Consequently, local governments make substantial efforts to prevent defaults, as they fear tarnishing their own creditworthiness, which would result in higher costs for issuing bonds. Thus, a vicious cycle ensues, perpetuating the escalating debt and exacerbating the bottom line. The issue of debt in China carries profound implications, reaching beyond national borders, posing increasing risks to the nation's economy on an international scale. Consequently, China has taken steps to address the problem of local government debt. The National Audit Office has been conducting audits since 2010 to uncover the depth of this predicament. These audits have exposed how local governments borrow funds for unprofitable infrastructure projects or real estate developments. In response, President Xi Jinping has intervened to safeguard the nation's stability and address this pressing issue. He emphasized the importance of preventing and mitigating risks associated with local government debt. In an article focused on economic growth and risk, President Xi stressed the need to consolidate the responsibility of provincial-level governments, address hidden debts, optimize debt maturity structures, reduce interest burdens, implement unified supervision of local government debts, and staunchly curb the growth of hidden debt. These actions taken by President Xi illustrate a noteworthy departure from the norm within the CCP, as he directly addresses and criticizes certain practices, emphasizing the seriousness of the situation. To safeguard the position of the central government, China's finance ministry has repeatedly emphasized that local governments bear the responsibility for their own debts, and there will be no assistance from the central government to alleviate the escalating debt burden carried by these local entities. This reveals the lack of confidence in the trajectory of local governments, as quoted by China's Ministry of Finance. The central government and the CCP, by extension, will not accept blame for the mounting debts incurred by local governments. This refusal to offer a bailout underscores the harsh reality that each entity must take ownership of its actions. Additionally, it is worth mentioning that less than 25% of viewers are currently subscribed. So if you enjoy the content, please consider hitting the subscribe button below to ensure access to future videos. Now, shifting our focus back to the issue of China's low debt revenue and the challenges faced by local governments in funding their activities without relying heavily on external borrowing, it is essential to examine the underlying factors. China's taxation problem primarily stems from its comparatively low tax collection rates, which fail to align with the nation's economic size. In contrast to countries like Denmark, where taxes contribute 35.5% of GDP, or the United States, which derives nearly 30% of its GDP from taxes, China's tax revenue lags significantly behind. In fact, when averaged over the period from March 1995 to March 2023, China's tax revenue as a percentage of GDP stands at a disappointing 14.3%, highlighting the underwhelming fiscal figure for an economy of China's magnitude. The root causes of China's low tax revenues can be attributed in part to structural deficiencies within the tax system. In China, only a small fraction of taxpayers are subject to personal income tax, and businesses reporting low profits are exempt from corporate tax, further diminishing overall tax revenues. These factors significantly diminish the pool of potential taxpayers, inevitably leading to reduced revenue collection. Moreover, the prevalence of corruption in China's society exacerbates the situation, akin to poking holes in a small bottle of water, causing leaks that deplete the remaining resources. Corruption permeates the tax system, influencing tax investigations, distorting the implementation of laws, and fostering a widespread disregard for legal compliance. Given the decentralized nature of local government operations, opportunities for unscrupulous activities abound, amplifying the likelihood of corruption. This pervasive corruption contributes to the low tax collection rates in China. Another significant factor contributing to China's tax revenue problem is the substantial issue of tax evasion. Similar to many other countries, tax evasion poses a formidable challenge to revenue collection in China. Due to the ambiguities in the tax system, coupled with a lack of transparency, various entities and individuals exploit numerous loopholes to evade taxes. The inherent ambiguities and contentious areas within Chinese tax laws facilitate this practice. It is worth noting that tax evasion primarily benefits the affluent members of society. Furthermore, China's low tax policy aligns with the political agenda of the CCP and serves as a means to attract international businesses and investments. By maintaining low taxes, China can offer a competitive advantage in terms of production costs, thereby attracting foreign investors and strengthening its position in the global market. Additionally, the CCP strives to maintain popular support and implement certain policies that resonate positively with the masses. For instance, increasing the tax-free threshold for monthly personal income creates a favorable perception among the people. However, while such measures may be politically advantageous, they come at a significant cost to the nation's tax revenue. In conclusion, China's finance ministry firmly asserts that local governments bear sole responsibility for their debts, absolving the central government and the CCP from accountability. The challenges faced by local governments in managing their debts and the overall issue of low tax revenue stem from structural deficiencies, corruption, tax evasion, and political considerations. These multifaceted factors contribute to the complex landscape of China's tax system and have far-reaching implications for its fiscal health. After implementing these changes, the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, proceeded with additional tax reforms and granted further deductions for various expenses incurred by households, including education fees, healthcare, elder care, and mortgage interest relief. By reducing the number of taxpayers, the CCP aimed to alleviate the burden while introducing concessions for existing taxpayers. This complex situation can be likened to a chaotic puzzle. To put it in perspective, approximately 80 million people, equivalent to the combined populations of California, Texas, and Florida, were exempted from paying taxes. Imagine the impact this would have on the United States. Moreover, due to these CCP tax regulations, an additional 65 million individuals now experience a 70% reduction in personal income tax. It's as if the entire nation of France were absolved from their tax obligations. This highlights the severity of China's tax issues. Consequently, China heavily relies on indirect taxes, such as value-added tax, VAT, to maintain a healthy tax base. Indirect taxes are levied on goods and services consumed within the economy, and the Chinese government employs VAT to tax every stage of production and distribution, from raw materials to the final consumer. This approach enables easier collection and enforcement, primarily targeting businesses rather than individuals, ensuring consistency and uniformity. However, even with this emphasis on indirect taxes, they fail to fill the void created by reducing personal taxes. Driven by political motives, China finds itself compelled to continually reduce taxes, exacerbating the precarious situation. It's evident that China faces a significant problem, one that jeopardizes the collapse of what has been an impressive economic model thus far. China's taxation challenges hinder the generation of revenue that could fund various national programs. Consequently, local governments accumulate massive debts. Regardless, decisive measures must be taken while there is still an opportunity to rectify the situation. The question arises, what actions can be undertaken? To address this problem and secure a brighter future for the nation, the Chinese government must first expand the tax base. This necessitates including all taxable individuals without exception. The situation where it seems as if California, Texas, and Florida are exempt from paying taxes needs to be rectified. Additionally, although unpopular initially, China must eliminate tax incentives and enhance differentiation within the tax brackets among its population. This step is crucial because many taxpayers in China are corporate entities whose tax obligations often do not correspond to their profits. Furthermore, curbing tax evasion is paramount. Strengthening the audit process, imposing stricter penalties, and improving coordination between the central and local tax departments are essential to combat tax evasion effectively. Enhanced communication and cooperation between these departments will close loopholes resulting from systemic inefficiencies, leading to significant benefits. China has been actively attempting to enforce tax laws following a crackdown on tax evasion. The tax authority in China has successfully gathered over 11 billion yuan, indicating a significant investment in enforcement measures. A prominent live streaming personality in China faced severe penalties and was removed from social media platforms due to tax evasion. Tax officials are striving to enhance cooperation to prevent multinational corporations and wealthy individuals from exploiting tax loopholes. They have implemented various strategies such as salary deductions, reduced tax exemptions, and advertising campaigns to promote tax compliance. However, These measures have not generated sufficient revenue to cover the country's expenses, leading to increased debt for financing projects. In a positive step forward, a well-known live stream shopping influencer, Huang Wei, was fined a massive $210 million for tax evasion. Huang was found guilty of evading more than 640 million yuan by falsifying commission income reports. The intention behind such a hefty penalty was to discourage others from engaging in similar activities. China's tax system suffers from ambiguities and loopholes, which should be addressed through improved anti-corruption measures, intensive training programs for tax officials, and the development of transparent IT systems. By strengthening enforcement, enhancing public service competence, and demonstrating comprehensive political will, corruption can be significantly reduced, and tax collection can be improved at the local level. While this transformation may take time, with the right approach and adequate resources, the entire system can experience substantial progress. Staying informed and aware of the latest developments is crucial, especially when it comes to matters that have far-reaching implications. Our channel is dedicated to providing accurate and insightful information on a wide range of subjects. By subscribing and liking our channel, you not only support our efforts, but also encourage us to continue delivering valuable content. Together, we can stay informed, engage in meaningful discussions, and foster a community of knowledge seekers. Join us on this journey, subscribe, and hit the like button to show your support for our channel.